Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
WrestleMania 35 is just a few weeks away. It's Christmas for wrestling fans. The anticipation of counting down the sleeps until the big day, the unbridled excitement for the day itself, and the crushing disappointment that your parents didn't buy you a Nintendo 64 because you already own a PlayStation, and aren't they the same thing? Worst first world Christmas problems ever! Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, WrestleMania is a lot like Christmas for wrestling fans. Only you don't have to spend time with your racist uncle who, despite all the overwhelming evidence, still argues that Brexit is a good thing. And like Brexit, not everything goes to plan when coming up with a WrestleMania card. It's been recently reported that unlike most years, WWE 35 has gone the longest time without a confirmed and decided card. Usually the Mania lineup is at least in a skeleton form in November or December, but WWE have left it until March this year. So what could have been on the card had plans not changed? I am Luke Owen. Press the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as we count down every scrapped WrestleMania 35 match. Number 1, Charlotte Flair vs Ronda Rousey. Start your Ronda counters, folks, because her name will appear on this video more than once. Since Ronda Rousey signed with the company in January last year, it was reported that WWE wanted to have Charlotte Flair versus the baddest woman on the planet as the first ever women's match to headline a WrestleMania pay-per-view. And it wasn't just wrestling superstars reporting this news, as Ric Flair himself revealed that's the direction the company wanted to go during an interview in mid-2018. Sadly for WWE, but brilliantly for WWE fans, Becky Lynch caught fire following her SummerSlam heel turn and became arguably the biggest star in the wrestling industry. As such, plans had to change and Becky had to become part of the story, particularly after her Survivor Series encounter with Ronda was scrapped following a swift Nia Jax punch to the orbital socket. Still, if WWE had their way, it would have been Ronda vs Flair for the Raw Women's Championship in the main event slot of WrestleMania. Number 2, Becky Lynch vs Ronda Rousey. But this was the match most fans wanted. In fact, a recent poll on WWE.com showed that 70% of people still want a singles match between Ronda and Becky without the inclusion of Charlotte Flair. It was a feud that started in the build to Survivor Series 2018, with Becky and Ronda having one of the most epic pull-apart brawls to end an episode of Raw, which sadly left Becky with a broken face and a horrible concussion that cancelled the match. However, it was reported shortly after the injury was revealed that the match being scrapped only raised its profile backstage, and it quickly became the new WrestleMania direction. So why the inclusion of Flair? While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that a large reason behind the decision for a triple threat was as insurance in case one of the 3 women got injured in the run-up to the show, which makes sense when you think about how the Survivor Series match had to be changed just a few days before the show itself. Thankfully, WWE had a really simple way to make it a triple threat. LOL JK, it was horrible. Number 3, Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. But before all that triple threat talk, it was reported that one of the plans discussed for Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania was facing off against a heel Natalya for the Raw Women's Championship. Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that because the Flair versus Lynch angle was getting so heated over on SmackDown, there was a discussion about changing the planned Flair versus Rousey match to Rousey versus Natalya. A feud between Rousey and Natty had been rumored since Ronda debuted with WWE and Natalya was moved over to Raw in the Superstar Shakeup, randomly as a babyface, with the two being connected as best friends, and several references to the real-life training that Natty and Ronda did together. However, with the passing of Natalya's father, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, plans to turn Natty heel were tabled, and she appears to now be teaming with her other best friend Beth Phoenix to challenge for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 35. Number 4, John Cena vs Lars Sullivan. It wouldn't be WrestleMania without John Cena, but even now it's not particularly clear as to who he might face at this year's Showcase of the Immortals. The current reporting suggests that he will be the man to have Kurt Angle's farewell match, but it could have been very different for Big Match John. Towards the end of last year, WWE began advertising a lurking Lars Sullivan who was soon to debut on the main roster. Sullivan's debut was supposed to see him attack John Cena and write him off the Royal Rumble show show which he was being advertised for, but was never going to be a part of. However, Lars' video packages stopped being shown on TV and all references to him were dropped altogether. It was then reported by the Wrestling Observer that Sullivan had suffered an anxiety attack ahead of a Raw taping, and he then no-showed a couple of other tapings and house show events. Lars' social media accounts confirmed this report, and Triple H said on an NXT conference call that Lars is now in a good place and is still welcomed back into the fold. However, it did mean that those John Cena WrestleMania plans were scrapped and the King of T-shirt style needed a new foe. Number 5. John Cena versus Drew McIntyre. And it could very well have been the Scottish psychopath who replaced Lars, with both Dave Meltzer and Ringside News reporting that Drew McIntyre was set to fill in the Lars spot of taking Cena off the Rumble show. However, as we now all know, that storyline never came to pass, and Big Match John was just announced on the Royal Rumble kickoff show as No Match John, and Drew McIntyre became part of the mid-card of evil. Number 6. Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan. When Daniel Bryan won the WWE Championship back in November in a surprising heel turn, it was reported that he had a quite clear path on the way to WrestleMania. He would beat AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble, successfully retain inside the Elimination Chamber, and then defend the title against Mustafa Ali at Fastlane, who would have gone the distance in both the Gauntlet match on SmackDown before the pay-per-view and in the Chamber itself. After that, it was reported by Dave Meltzer that Bryan would then defend the title at Mania against a returning star. However, like the Becky situation earlier in this list, an injury changed those plans. It was revealed that Mustafa Ali was dealing with several injuries, including a concussion suffered on a house show and a big shiner courtesy of Randy Orton. And with that, Ali was replaced by Kofi Kingston, and #Kofi Mania began. And now it looks like we're going to get Bryan versus Kofi at Mania 35, which interestingly was originally advertised as a Fastlane match. So who were those returning stars? Well, according to Meltzer, one of the biggest names being thrown around was Kevin Owens, who was advertised to return to Raw on the same night as the McMahon announced new era of WWE. But with the rise of #Kofi Mania, it was reported that Vince McMahon made the call to switch the two matches, moving Bryan versus Owens to Fastlane and Bryan versus Kofi to WrestleMania. The other rumored name to face the planet's champion? Number 7. Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. Bray Wyatt hasn't been on TV since September 15th, 2018, but did make a surprise appearance at Starrcade last year and several other house shows since. It had even been reported that he could have been Braun Strowman's replacement at TLC when the Monster Among Men was sidelined with an injury that was going to take him out of his Baron Corbin match. That of course never came to pass, and it looks like his match with Bryan for the WWE Championship won't be happening either, even though that appeared to be the direction when former Wyatt family member Rowan became Daniel Bryan's lackey. Instead, WWE made the call to go with Kofi Kingston instead. According to new reports, Bray Wyatt's return is one of WWE's closest kept secrets, by which they mean they have no idea what they're going to do with him. Number 8. Daniel Bryan versus Shawn Michaels. One of the more surprising entrants on this list is a potential dream match of trainer versus student, with Barnburner reporting that one match that was penciled in for WrestleMania was Daniel Bryan versus Shawn Michaels. While there is no word on whether this would have been for the WWE Championship, it came about after HBK returned to the ring for the first time in 8 years at the controversial Crown Jewel show from last year in Saudi Arabia. The idea would be that Michaels would get the wrestling bug once again and do another match with The Undertaker at Survivor Series and several more matches leading up to WrestleMania. But instead the exact opposite happened, with Michaels revealing in an interview that he was now officially done with in-ring competition, deciding that one return from retirement was more than enough. And more than enough is also the best way to describe the nice check he got to work the Crown Jewel match. Number 9. Batista versus Randy Orton. HBK's DX partner Triple H also nearly had his WrestleMania match changed. During the Crown Jewel tag match, Trips tore his pectoral muscle, which put him in doubt for the Mania match against Batista, which had been set up on SmackDown 1000 in October. And according to some reports, it was speculated that one of the names penciled in to replace Triple H if he couldn't get cleared in time was their Evolution stablemate Randy Orton. It should be noted here that this was pure speculation, with Dave Meltzer reporting last year that Randy Orton was set to face AJ Styles at WrestleMania, which was confirmed this past Thursday. Not only that, but Batista has explicitly explicitly said in interviews that he only wants one more match at Mania before he retires, and he wants it to be against Triple H. Number 10. Lacey Evans vs. Asuka. Believe it or not, but according to Dave Meltzer, the idea behind Lacey Evans walking halfway down the ring in assorted hats and then turning around and walking all the way back is to set her up for a SmackDown Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. Meltzer noted in The Observer that WWE are very high on Evans at the moment, given her real-life military background, and even have her slotted to be part of the top 3 women in the company this year alongside Becky and Charlotte when Ronda Rousey takes time off to start a family. And while this match could still happen, seeing as though Asuka hasn't currently got a storyline or feud leading into the show, Meltzer did report in a recent Wrestling Observer that Asuka vs. Lacey Evans is now unlikely. Number 11. Roman Reigns vs. Dean Ambrose. Sometimes things don't work out the way you expect them to, and rarely has this been so true as in the case of Roman Reigns' Universal title run and Dean Ambrose's heel turn. Roman's leukemia announcement back in October last year turned every storyline involving the Shield more upside down than Will Byers, and Dean's subsequent heel turn on this night of all night is no exception. According to several sources, the original plan was to wait off on the Dean Ambrose heel turn, which would then cause the second split of the Shield and have Roman challenge Dean to a match at Mania 35 for the Universal Championship. But with Roman's announcement and plans having to be changed on the fly, Ambrose turned heel on Seth on the same night, quickly becoming a germaphobe and getting injections in his butt, and then it was announced he was leaving the company at the end of April. Talk about plans changing. With Roman returning to the company, WrestleVotes reported that WWE were working hard on getting Reigns a big match at Mania, which could end up being Drew McIntyre based off last Monday's Raw, but will likely end up being Baron Corbin because this company seems to bloody love putting Baron Corbin in high-profile matches. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of our wonderful pledge hammers scrolling their way into my stomach. Click the video over there for the latest and greatest from WrestleTalk. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.